Hey everyone, Sarah here at Naturally Inspirational. Today we're making salve and we're going to be creating dandelion, yarrow, and calendula salve. So we are going to be creating the 2-ounce jars and getting those ready. Alrighty, so going ahead and making our salves today, we're going to put all the ingredients in our wonderful brand new pot here and we are going to turn this on and we're going to start melting it. So we're going to completely measure everything out that we need per batch. If you'd like to go ahead and know how we make our salves, you could check out our book, Dandelion Magic, Yarrow Magic, and Calendula Magic to go ahead and create individual salves. And today we're going to make all of those into one. So we're going to remove our lid because we're not going to need this. You will need a measuring cup. I prefer glass because olive oil, if you're making a lot of salve, it tends to eat away the wonderful writing on the sides of your jar. So I like glass because I at least know I can trust this. It's going to last a long time and it's worth it. And this is a 4 cup. I also have a scale here. My handy dandy reliable scale has multiple different measurements on it. We got kilograms, grams, pounds, ounces, milliliters, milk, and such. So this one is not made for shipping. This is actually made for ingredients themselves. So this way you can go ahead and measure everything out. But if I was to like ship out packages, this wouldn't work very well because it can't handle that kind of weight. So I have a different scale for shipping versus making my products. Alrighty, so we're going to do the olive oil next, but we're going to start with the beeswax because I only want to dirty one container today because we're only going to do one large batch. With that being said, we have our olive oils here. I have my essential oils here. I have my pot here. And this box is shea butter and I have my beeswax. So this is my wonderful container of beeswax. It is never all the way full because beeswax can be a little bit of expensive to buy. And this is my scooper. So we are going to tar this off. Okay, and here we go. You may wonder in this video why I'm not giving you guys like how much am I using of what, and that's because this is the Naturally Inspirational company recipe, so I cannot share this with you guys. But of course, you can get the recipe in our magic book for making a individual salve as well. So and that does have the same steps and measurements for those salves in my books, and they work out really well. Okay, now that that's measured out, right? Me close this bad boy, move this out of the way. So for me, when I make a batch, it's basically by case. How many in a case can I make at a time? I can make it down to a smaller amount, but you'll be able to find that in my magic book to where it's more of narrowed down to what you would want to make it for yourself at home. In my case, I'm making it company standard, multiple jars, and I just want to make a whole big batch. And to you guys, this might seem like a very big batch, but for me, this is qualified as a small batch, but in a large scale compared to other companies. This pot is only 6 quarts. So I'm only going to be able to fit so much in here to go ahead and fill jars at a time. So technically, if I'm comparing myself to a larger company that goes ahead and creates things like this, if I filled this whole entire pot, it would be qualified as a small batch. And I technically, if you want to be technical, I'd make small batches purposely like this because I have gotten the large one that's a lot of liters and it's very tall. And I have made batches like that. The only problem was making small batches, I can master exactly how much beeswax goes in there, the texture and everything. And then when I got to the larger batches, trying to be the bigger company to where I can make more at a time, it wasn't really the same. It came out a lot different than what I anticipated. It didn't mix together as well and such. So I really like my small pot, which is why I really am sticking with the wax melter that I have because this pot has a spout on it and everything. There is a video out there of me actually putting this pot together because it's a brand new pot. And I really like this pot because I can make sure everything I put in here is fully mixed before I start pouring. And I can control the substance in here and actually see how it's turning and such. Versus if I had a very large pot, it'd be very difficult. And if you're at home wanting to do this, you're probably just going to want a pot on the stove with some water in it, have a bowl on top, and you're just going to double boil it basically. And what it is let's say this is on the stove, you fill this with water, you put a metal bowl on the top, you put your ingredients in the top, and you just stir it until it starts melting. It can't burn or anything because it's just the water underneath evaporating because it's the heat melting it. Once it gets to that melted temperature, you go ahead and then you can start pouring it into your jars. And I've done that for 2, 3 years. That was the method that I used. And now this is the method that I've stuck with. So I really like this method. I can do it all right here and watch the temperatures and consistency versus if I was on my glass top stove. So with that being said, this is our beeswax. We're gonna pour this right in. And when you get the little pellets, I prefer beeswax in pellet form because it's a lot easier to maneuver, weigh. You don't have to cut anything, you don't have to make a mess. And for me, it's just a lot more simpler. You can get the blocks. It's just when you get it in the larger forms, it's harder for the beeswax to melt. Takes a little bit longer, in other words. So it's a personal preference of if you want to deal with the beeswax in pellet form or block form. And I personally just like the pellets. We are going to do the olive oil next. We're going to start with calendula. So I just go ahead and fill up each individual one by themselves. This way I can measure out exactly how much is going into the batch. It's not like I'm pouring it in and just guessing about which herb goes in. I'm actually fully watching it and verifying what I'm putting in here. So here is calendula. Here is dandelion. Alrighty. And next, but not least, yarrow. So here we go with this bad boy. So again, if I didn't have these labeled, you wouldn't know which herbs and what, which is the number one reason why I always tell people if you're going to make products, you're going to want to label everything you're doing because all these have been the same color. They smell the same, smell like olive oil. Voila, those are done. I can put those away. Our olive oils are now in here. Now we are going to start on the shea butter. So shea butter, and we're going to measure this out. Now I will let you know I do touch things when I'm making salves with my hands. I do go ahead and make sure my hands are clean before I dig into everything. But again, since it's going to be getting hot processed, I'm not too worried about germs during this process because everything's basically being cooked. So here we go. We got some shea butter right here. It's just a piece of it. And if you've ever touched butter, you know how butter sticks to your fingers. This pretty much sticks to your fingers as well. It is a little bit messy, sticky, and it does not wash off very easy, which is why it's very moisturizing. It is the extra moisturization to my salves. So a lot of people like it because I have the shea butter in here, and I have come across people that are allergic to shea butter, and I've had to make batches without it. And when I actually started making my salves, I had a batch with shea butter and I did a batch without, and I never had customers complain about each one. So it is a personal preference. If there's somebody that is allergic to it and you want a salve batch without shea butter in it, yes, we can do it. You need to stay there. Perfect. Okay, and I use a piece of paper towel so I can put it on my scale and pick it up, and we're gonna splat. And once that's in, we're going to turn it up and let that bad boy melt. And for me, I typically keep it around 100 just to go ahead and get things melting, get things moving. If you're worried about hurting the herbs, remember if you infuse olive oil with a level machine, you're already heating that olive oil to 165 degrees to get the olive oil infused with the herbs. So you're not going to hurt the herbs at 100 in here. Beeswax and everything will start to melt and such, and we go from there. So what is next is I clean up my scale. I put my shea butter away because we're done with that, and we wait for this to melt. That's the fun part. Alrighty, so while this is melting, I'll kind of tell you what dandelion or calendula is used for. Aches, pains, bruises, sores, arthritis, all natural first aid. Calendula is extra moisturizing and a first aid herb to help heal wounds, close wounds, and help your healing 10 times faster. The same thing with dandelion and yarrow. They all go hand in hand on helping you heal. It's a first aid. It is a lot better than cortisone cream from the store and first aid things that you buy to spray on the skin to go ahead and clean out the wounds. This is a product to where you don't entirely have to clean the wounds out with these. They go ahead and disinfect. They go ahead and cut back on the pain. They keep it from getting infected. They go ahead and heal the process 10 times faster. And if you have yarrow in it, it's going to stop bleeding. It's one of my favorite things about yarrow. So over here, these are the 2 cases of jars that we're going to be using. So we're going to open these bad boys up, set them off to the side. I actually keep the jars in here so I can just continue my process of going. And no, this is not food edible, so no, I do not have to wash these. I just open them up straight from the factory. And then I do inspect each case to make sure nothing is broken and all parts are there, etc. to make sure that before I fill them, I'm doing already an inspection, making sure there's no broken glass in it, there's no cracks in the glass, and there's no bugs or anything that are dead in there. I like to be very sure about when I fill something to where if I'm going to fill it, I'm going to want to use it. Same as for my customers. I want them to be as satisfied as I'm going to be satisfied. So with that being said, you're probably wondering, okay, you got everything in your pot, everything's starting to melt, but yet your essential oils are still out here. Yes, these are your very, very last step. You do not want to add in your essential oils until after everything is melted and you're ready to put it in the jar. The reason for that is because these essential oils will lose their potency if you let them boil and add that heat. So you want to add that last. Alrighty, both these cases are wide open. And if you're wondering what is in here, it is pretty simple. We have a beautiful 2-ounce jar right here. Got a beautiful lid with a seal on it, and voila, it is ready to rock and roll. So while you're making your salves, you're probably going to have the urn to want to stir it and mix everything up to get the heat equalized through everything. I personally use a wooden stick, and these are found in the food department that you can go ahead and make kebabs on. So I use a wooden stick because I feel as though this is clean. I use it once, I could throw it away, and it's biodegradable. A lot of people do use a metal spoon in the freezer, so this way when the batch actually finishes, they can put that metal spoon right on the top and touch it, and they can flip the spoon over to see if the consistency is right, because that spoon's going to heat up. Since it's so cold, it's going to automatically make the batch get hard on the back of the spoon, and if it gets the hardness that you like, and that spoon is heated up afterward from touching it and such, it's kind of like eating ice cream. It melts on the spoon. Well, guess what? We're doing the reverse on making salves. That's how you can test at home to see if it's the right consistency. So this way, if it's going to be runny or not after you put it in your jars and it's off the heat. I personally don't have to do that step anymore because I have a stick and I just mix it and I can tell on the stick if it's good enough or not. But also doing this now for 7 years more, I've got a pretty good eye at it. And I will tell you, to go ahead and create salves, you do have to know what you're talking about. If you don't know what you're doing, that's okay. It's called experimenting, and experimenting is way okay. You don't know anything until you try it. That's what I always say. So I go ahead and just stick this in here, and I give this a really good stir. And I do not leave home. This takes a few minutes to go ahead and melt, at most 30, depending on the temperature that you're using and how long of a process you want it to be. And we're just going to go ahead and give this a really nice stir, breaking up the beeswax, the shea butters in a block. And that's usually what we mostly wait on. So on this stick, you can see the beeswax is stuck to it and such. And I just wipe it on the side here because it will melt and go right back in. A lot of it's still olive oil, so. Alrighty, so while that sits, I like to sit my stick here on the side. When you buy this specific pot, it actually comes with a stand. And with the stand, it comes with legs that are taller and it comes with this plate. Well, my legs in my old stand fell apart, the screws fell apart and everything. Of course, it's from China. Nothing is good from China. But I ended up keeping my plate from my old pot. We went to a garage sale and found a little stand. And I personally like this little stand because it's not so high. I can go ahead and control things a little bit better. So if you're going ahead and creating salves and you're using this pot, one of the things you're going to want to look for when you're filling your jars is it will have a drip. So even though you filled up a jar, you can wait there a few minutes. You might get like up to 10 drips after. And that's just because the spout is that long to where you're actually just slowly getting those drips after you've closed it. And for me, I get about 2 drops in and then I let the last drop go and I just grab the next jar and I just start going. So I do recommend putting a plate, or in my case, another jar underneath here to catch those extra drops. So this way you're not making a big extra mess, you're not wasting any materials, etc. So usually when I'm making salves, I already open one of these jars, go ahead and put it under here, And then from there, like again, it does depend on how tall your pot is. So you may not want a small mouth like this one because this one's really small and you have to put it exactly where it's going to be dripping. So when I usually make salves, I do my 4-ounce jars with these jars, and I can put a 4-inch jar down here. A great way to test it is while your pot is still here, it's hot, it's getting melted, and you can see if you can perfectly fit your jars underneath your spout. So for me, I can fit 2 of these jars stacked on top of each other, and they perfectly can fit underneath the spout. So I can put one of these jars on my plate here, this way it never hits my table. I don't have to worry about cleaning my table afterward. And I can just scoop these in and just continue going, going, going. Because that's exactly what I do. Once I get started, I just roll. I take the cap off, I fill it, I shut it, put the cap on, put it back in the box, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So today we are going to be filling 2 cases of these. There's 24 jars in each case. These are my 2-ounce jars that I sell on Amazon, here in store, and at other shops that carry my specific products. So with that being said, this pot is obviously still going. You can see the beeswax in there and such. So we're going to just move these things over. I'm not taking them off the table. I'm just going to move them over because in the meantime, I'm actually going to work on something else to make a productive time that I have here. It's also really great if my kids are running around, I can play with them, talk to them, make sure they're away from the hot pot, go get them situated, and then I come back and fill up my jars, which works really nice because you're not going to burn in the bottom of this pot. You don't have to sit here and constantly stir it. You just have to be like, okay, we're still melting. Okay, we're still melting because the bottom heats up and it heats up the sides. So everything is evenly heated and it doesn't burn. If you want to burn it, you can just leave it sit there all day long and it will slowly burn down because the olive oil will eventually burn down. But we're not going to wait that long. We're not going to deal with that. So the other thing that we are going to be working on today, and this is just because I'm the shop owner, I got other things I can do. So congratulations, you get to watch me label the deep roll on new products that we have of 2026. So I got my new stickers in as a request from a customer that I actually got. She highly recommended, granted it could have been a he, but it was an email, and they wanted to let me know their review. And I absolutely love reviews, whether they're good or bad, because that helps me know how I can make things better or if it's to customer satisfaction. And I love hearing both sides of the story. But my products mostly speak for themselves, so I let them speak for themselves. So we have lots of labels here to go to play with. I'll set this bad boy up over here. So basically what we're doing is we're putting a label right on this product just like this. So a lot of these are already labeled, but that's okay because I have a whole nother case here ready to be labeled. So now that my labels have arrived, because I actually shipped out to get these shipped in, so the labels do not get worn down, worn out by holding them or the oil getting on them. They're supposed to be oil and water resistant. So there is that. Can say these are not coming off as easy as I would hope. Here we go. They're on there pretty good. So I lay the bottle down and put it on. So from an old to a new, voila. So I hope that goes in and helps my customers be able to read everything more professionally. It's more bold, it's more darker, and it is more resistant. Okay, so we'll get all these labeled, and then we'll jump over here, give this another mix. Alrighty, those jars are now labeled, and if you can look right here, this pot is almost ready to rock and roll. Alrighty, we're going to give it a quick stir. We're going to turn the temperature down just a little bit because now it is hot. It is ready to rock and roll, and you can hear that swoosh. We're giving it a really good stir, mixing everything all together, making sure it's nice. You are going to be creating bubbles. That's okay. The bubbles aren't going to stick around. If you have bubbles, that means you have something else in here that should not be in here. Okay. I got lucky. The stick stays. Don't usually leave your stick in the pot because it will fall into the batch. Done it a million times. So now we are going to put in our lavender. So this is the lavender that I have here today. Alrighty, now that that's in, now we're going to jump over to our other essential oils, which is spearmint. This is the homemade Michigan spearmint. So I use a little kid dropper to go ahead and put my drops in here since it didn't come in a dropper. And that's it. Essential oils are added. And now I'm completely turning the heat off because we are going to jar it. And alrighty, we're going to give this a really nice good stir. Going ahead and getting everything in there nice and mixed. Heat's off, so that's good. I can feel the heat on top here, so it is nice and warm. I will mind you, depending on your jar that you're using, if you're filling it by hand, you do want to be very precautious of how you're using it because if it is like the tins I have, you can't hold those and fill them at the same time. They get way too hot and it's very easy to spill. So these jars, I have enough time to go ahead and fill them, put the lids on, and put them back in the box. And I prefer to sit while I do it. So we're going to move our plate over here, put it under the spout, have my stick there. Alrighty. So that one's open. Now we're going to start filling. And then I put my lid on, and that goes right into the box. In my case, my first spout, it's a little bit stiff, so it leaked all over. But good news, it's hardening up real nice, so that means my batch is going to do very well. Put that over top of that so this jar doesn't get all ucky. Oop, I did that one. Okay, on to the next. There we go, now we're not stuck anymore. And we just fill, cap, and continue on. It's just a constant flow. Fill, and I fill it up to the brim so it still has headspace in case it gets in the cold or anything and people get worried about things expanding. I don't have to worry about the jars breaking because it is glass. And they always recommend if you have glass, you want to make sure you have headspace. It's funny when I have family members all the time that ask me, "Oh, you're making salves. I can come over and help." Well, it's kind of a one person process for me. I tend to just dig in and get at it and get it done. And there's only one spout, so only one person can fill it at a time. And then you gotta wait for them to harden, and then you gotta label them, then you gotta seal them, and that's like one process after another. So for making salves, it's more of a one-person job, in my opinion. I like doing it myself. I like making my pretty little jars. I like making things very simple, and most of the time I turn on a movie and zone out. So today, you get the lucky front seat spot of me making salves. So I'm trying to remember to walk you through what I'm doing because typically I zone out. This is like my meditation when I need me time to sit down. This is something I enjoy sitting down, making, creating, mixing, labeling. It's just my own little world. And honestly, I think about the products of they could go to and how much of a blessing they can help somebody and just hoping for the best on every single one of my customers because all I want to do is help them have a better day. That is honestly one of the true things that is a blessing about being a business owner is making the products. You get your hands in, you get to see how things are made, and you really create a bond with the products that you create and why you've created them. And a lot of people look at me and tell me I'm a crazy person because of it. Well, you can call me crazy because I love doing what I'm doing. And if there's one thing I know I'm doing right in this world is if I'm being called crazy, at least I'm not boring. So I will gladly be who I am because I love being who I am. God made me the way that I am, and He created products, and He gave us plants to go and help us with this world and on this earth to be able to help heal and feel better about ourselves and to help our bodies truly feel better without all those other medications that the doctors want to put us on. And it's truly a big blessing. So, to give you guys an idea of my drip jar, we are spilling on the outside of it constantly, but we are getting it inside. So, I mean, it's not the end of the world of how it's going, but since this pot is brand new, the spout, it sticks. So when I try to open it, it kind of shifts a little bit, which causes it to constantly move. which I don't like, but I'm just hoping it's one of those things that you gotta break it in, wear it down to where it then will open smoothly and close smoothly, because you will go ahead and break it in, and then everything will flow like my other one. It was very easy to use. I didn't have to worry about moving it or anything. It stayed put where it was. So this is just one of those things. Since this is a new pot, it is very easy to make mix-ups, which is why I always handy have a plate. Keeps my table good, keeps my floors good. And if you are doing this on a floor, concrete floor or anything, I will warn you, dandelion salve on flooring is very slippery. I know that from experience. I've fallen on my butt multiple times in my aunt's basement. And then having my 80-year-old aunt walk down into the basement, me have to tell her, "Don't walk any farther because I got salve everywhere. I dropped a jar. It was too hot, hit my hand, and I dropped the whole thing, splattered up my pants and everything, and went all over the floor. And it was a big mess. I waited for it to harden up because cleaning up wet salve is just non-optional because it just slimes into everything else, so it's more easier to let it harden up, and then I went over it, cleaned it up with some paper towel, got some hot water with some soap, and finished washing up the floor, and it was fine. My pants, on the other hand, did get stained because olive oil can stain the clothes, but they didn't stay stained. The olive oil came out. So, that is the good thing about our salves is they do not permanently damage your clothes. And if you accidentally eat them, they won't hurt you because they're chemical free. And I say that with enthusiasm because my dog has eaten a whole entire jar and she is still fine. It is a blessing. So this box came in upside down, or I opened it upside down. Not a problem. Fill it up. Lid on. So it is a jar I fell in love with and it was only sold on Amazon, and that's why I purchased them. They show up to my house in these cases. They're really nice. I can label them till I got a new labeler. Let's just say I have purchased 1-inch labels for these salves for probably the last 3 years. Ooh, that one's really full. That's okay though. So for the last 3 years, I've been using these jars and I put the little label on the top. If you got my salves before, you know my stickers, they always go on the tops. This way they're the exact color of the salve, what you're getting, plus the name brand, what's in there, etc. Well, due to the fact my new labeler does not support 1-inch labels, it has to be like a 2-inch label or more, or possibly a 1.5. I can't guarantee you. I'm not looking at it right now. But it doesn't take my 1-inch sticker, so we'll just put it that way. So with that being said, it's either I have to decide to somehow wrap a label around the side of the jars going forward and giving it a whole new look, or we're just going to size up a jar and see what our new look completely looks like with a different jar. I haven't made up my mind yet what we're going to do. But there's always opportunity to change and grow and see what is better out there. So I'm open minded about it. I'm still currently sticking with these ones. I just ordered these 2 cases in because I do have a lot of 1-inch labels to go ahead and go through before I can switch jars anyway. So I'm not super worried about it. Plus, I do still have my original thermal printer that I can still print with. So it's not the end of the world like, oh, I can't print them at all. No, I can just pull it out of storage, print them, and put it back. Not that hard. My newest improved labeler is the thermal printer that is by the company Rollo, and it has been a game changer for me because it uses Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. I don't have to rely on an app to go and use it. I can go on a Canva. I can put whatever I want in my Canva to go ahead and create my label. I can then download it into my pictures. I can go to my pictures and I can press print, select the printer, and it spits them out. It is a blessing, and I can do so many stickers at a time. So this is one of the wonderful reasons of why I switched. My old thermal printer that I have is pink, and it has worked wonderful for the last few years that I've used it. Works for every single label I've had, but it jams up so much. And when I mean jam up, it literally jams to where you have to unload it, you have to shut it down, you have to restart it, you have to clean it off, all the label stuck. And on top of it, I can only do 100 labels at a time. Another reason I'm switching is to the Rollo. So you can go ahead and buy lots of thermal printers out there, and most of them are app formed. Well, when you have the app formed thermal printers, I didn't realize that after having that thermal printer, my pink one, for 3 years, that they were going to do a complete app update, which meant if I had anything saved, bye bye. Literally, I got on one day because I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna print these labels. Not a big deal." I got an update that they're gonna update the app, and I'm like, "Okay, everybody updates stuff." And I just had my labels on there. I didn't have them saved anywhere else. So I had originally saved them online. Online had erased them. So then I'm like, okay, we're just gonna save them to the memory of my phone. And well, apparently, regardless of where I saved things, it was a complete nightmare. It got rid of everything. I lost every single label I made. So I was at that point infuriated because I'm Googling, can I get it back? Can I figure out how to get it back? Can I contact the company to get like my old history back of my labels and all that? And the answer is simple. No, you cannot. So at that point, I was very frustrated with them because I lost all of my hard work on my labels already being made. So I like to be open and honest with my customers. And this is just one of the things that I do. We go and create our products, and if we have a little bit left over, instead of going and grabbing more jars of salve that we may or may not fully fill, I actually like to go ahead and grab the jars that I do have that I personally use, and I actually like to make samples out of what's left over. So this way I can actually make somebody else's day a blessing when they want to get a free sample of salve. So that's one of the cool things about Naturally Inspirational making products is we make enough that everybody gets to try it. So thank you for going ahead and sticking around today. Thanks for watching and listening, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you.